Welcome to Crunching Tackles, where we break down the hardest hitting social issues in sports. On today's show, we preview the World Cup final. My name is Chad Wiley, and with me, as always, in person, John Neckersoff.
It's bizarre to be here in person. I guess we did one maybe 2 years ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time. And the amount of times that we've done it is like impossibly small in comparison to the amount of episodes we've done.
The last time we podcasted in person, we talked about Yannick Sinner's doping allegations and alien rockets.
That's right. That's exactly what I was going to say. And before that, I feel like we've only done like two. Since we went virtual in 2020. Yeah. So it's exciting to be here. Yeah. It's a big occasion.
Thank you for joining us with the Manchester United scarf.
I know. I'm in the house of the enemy. My Arsenal scarf is actually at work. So it's not even in my. Maybe I should have one in my recording studio.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That would be good for
one
you.
day.
We are here to do basically an emergency podcast because we did a great job, John, of previewing the third place match for the World Cup final.
That's true. We did.
That we thought was going to be the actual final. But we do need to talk about the actual World Cup final because we were so wrong, and we just need to acknowledge that.
We need to acknowledge that we got the semifinals 100% wrong.
100, yeah.
We picked both games with 100% incorrect accuracy.
Which is deeply disappointing because, as you reminded me, in our pre-tournament podcast, we both predicted Spain to win the World Cup.
Yes.
And then when it came down to predicting the final, we both bailed on Spain.
We just chickened out.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
And we'll talk about why.
At times it was against my better judgment, but I did chicken out in the end. And I think that there are a lot of reasons for that. And I think they factor into what happened in the semifinals. But, to start us off, Spain are playing Argentina in the final.
Yes.
Which is maybe not what we predicted at the beginning of the tournament, but it also at the same time makes sense. I don't know that we've talked about it a lot, but FIFA for the first time set up the World Cup where the top four seeds, kind of like in March Madness, are all in different sides of the bracket.
Yeah.
And so there has never been a World Cup where the top four teams all made it to the semifinals, according to the FIFA rankings. So this was a unique situation, and we got two pretty good toss-up games in the semifinals.
Yeah. I think pre-tournament, anyone who predicted a Spain-Argentina final would have seemed completely reasonable, right? But as the tournament went on, I don't think it ever felt like Spain and Argentina were the two strongest teams, right? When Spain was tying 0-0 with Cape Verde, or when Argentina were in extra time again against Cape Verde, these teams, I don't think at any point until now felt like the two strongest teams based on the resume of how the tournament was flowing.
Right.
But before the tournament, picking Spain, who most people I think were the preseason favorite, or France, or picking the defending champion would have totally been a reasonable thing to do.
I think it's super reasonable, and also interesting historically. This is the first time that the Copa America champion is facing off against the acting European champion in the World Cup final. Right. So it does feel very much like, maybe we didn't expect this originally, but on balance, if we set this up ahead of time, it would make sense. However, I think you're exactly right that it did turn out to be a surprise for us. And I think maybe we should I want to start with the France game, I think, because I think that's the more, obviously we have both like connections to England in different ways that make that whole reality of what happened in that game against Argentina and Messi relatively important culturally. But I think the France-Spain game is, from a soccer perspective, considerably more important, in some ways more surprising, because I think some of us, I certainly wasn't sure if it was going to happen, but it did feel like France was ready to coast to a World Cup victory.
Yeah.
And it absolutely did not pan out that way.
I think it's the right place to start as well, because the Spain-France game is kind of the most likely blueprint for how the final will go as well.
Yes.
If Spain just decide, we're just going to suffocate you for 90 minutes, which is exactly what they did to France. We had talked about how much it would matter if France versus Spain had the majority of possession. It turns out that didn't matter at all, because Spain was the one who was going to win with or without the ball.
Right.
When they had the ball, they were very clinical. They were very aggressive. They held on to the ball. And when France got the ball and tried to break, Spain played one of the best defensive soccer games I've ever seen, club or country, anytime, anywhere. Like, it was a defensive masterclass. And Spain, I think, are the favorites going into this final.
Yes.
They're certainly the team that I'm going to pick to win this final. And I think that they dispatched a team that's better than Argentina in France, a team with more attacking firepower than
For sure.
Argentina. And where it really came down to it was in the midfield. And the weakest part of France was always going to be that two-person midfield with young and inexperienced players like either Tchouaméni or Manu
Mhm.
Kone. And in this case, the experience of someone like Rodri, who has won a Ballon d'Or and is one of the best players in the world, just shone through. Spain dominated the game from the midfield, and that created advantages both in attack and in defense.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about, and the Argentina game will be very different because Argentina is a very different opponent to France for reasons we'll get into in
Mhm.
a little bit. Like you said, France, there were questions the media were asking, is Deschamps going to change his midfield balance to deal with this Spain team? I think what's interesting is De La Fuente in the last two games, both against Belgium and against France, has changed up his midfield strategy. So early in the tournament, Rodri and Pedri were playing pretty
Mhm.
consistently. And I'm forgetting now off the top of my head who the third midfielder was. By the end of the tournament, at the business end, Rodri, Fabian Ruiz has
Fabian
come
Ruiz,
in, and
yeah.
then Dani Olmo's playing as the 10. And that midfield three was the midfield three that played in the Euro. And he had moved away from that a little bit, I think, to get Pedri into the team. And I think relatively quickly realized that that balance was not exactly working very well. I think Fabian Ruiz presents a very intense physical presence alongside Rodri that it caused France a lot of problems. He's a more direct player and has goal threat as well. And so I don't know. When watching that game, I think you were right to call out the defensive solidity of Spain. Because anytime France would break forward, it wasn't just that the defenders were good. Like Ruiz and Rodri were everywhere. And Rodri in particular has seemed like he had an ACL injury, I guess it was last year, and he seems fully back from that. Like
Mhm.
he dominated this game and he's dominated the entire World Cup. And so when we look at, how is Argentina going to play this game against that midfield? To me, the question is going to be how much can Argentina's intensity match just the excellence of Spain's midfield? Like it is a question to me, not of quality, but can their intensity on the ball, their intensity in pressing, their intensity in just genuinely like wanting to win another World Cup balance out the, I think, superior quality of the Spanish team? And then we'll get to Messi in a little bit,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah, I think, the first goal for Spain came on a well-won penalty that Yamal won.
Right.
But, not necessarily because Spain was doing a whole lot with the ball. It was just an opportunistic penalty, and they took advantage. Spain's second goal, scored by Pedro Porro, was just a very, very well-worked move that he slotted home. I feel as if, Spain offensively, I don't have any questions about in the final. Yamal has been kind of getting his way into the tournament. As Oyarzabal, however you want to say his
Mm-hmm.
name, who I'm the more of a skeptic on, but he has done well. I feel like in this tournament. On the other side, I don't really trust Baena very much, but it's possible that Nico Williams might be able to go a full 90.
Right.
He has not started a game
No.
yet, but he has started to play more and more minutes as the tournament has gone on. But when I think about this France Spain game defensively, I think about all of those moments when France got on the ball really quickly, maybe on a turnover, and they tried, whether it's Dembele or Elise, they tried to spring a through ball through to Mbappe. And every single time, either Rodri or Aymeric Laporte just cut the ball out, or
Mm-hmm.
Cucurella just stopped the ball. They were positionally. It's almost like they knew exactly where the France attackers were going to be before they
Yeah.
got there, and they were so efficient at cutting out the passing lanes and stopping that ball from getting in behind them. And that's going to matter a lot against an Argentina attack that's going to try to do something similar, right? Messi's not going to be making those runs, but Julian Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez are. And he's going to be the one trying to spring those passes.
Right.
And it's going to take a second defensive masterclass, I think, for Spain to do it, but I expect them to do it because they are so well disciplined and they're anchored by such an accomplished player in Rodri.
And also, just a shout out for Pau Cubarsí, who is the 19-year-old Barcelona center back and has been
Yeah.
unbelievable this tournament.
Yeah.
He has not put a single foot wrong. Spain has conceded one goal this entire tournament.
Yeah.
Like, that is unbelievable. And when I think about I think we should move gears
Sure.
and talk about England and
Mhm.
Argentina in a second. But when I think about the blueprint for stopping this Argentina team, it's all about control. And Spain is the one team in this tournament that really has exhibited control in the biggest of moments. You know, France had up until that game, but then they faced a real, like a genuine opponent, and all of a sudden they just couldn't put their foot down and control the game. I think what's interesting is that Argentina, shifting gears and talking about Argentina and England, Argentina has thrived off of games that have no control. Like every single game they have been in the knockout rounds, at least, you know, in the group stages, it was a little different. They weren't really up against high caliber opposition. But in the knockout rounds, every single game has gone into dramatic circumstances, whether last minute wins or extra time. So much of that comes back to Messi. So much of that comes back to the intensity of defending champions and just the clear national spirit that is powering this team. And I think England came into this semifinal kind of trying to play Argentina at their own game. And that is just not, that is not a winning formula against this team. Like Thomas Tuchel played this game completely wrong.
Yeah.
In every area of the field.
Yeah. Argentina are in a World Cup final, and they have not led a single knockout round game at 90 minutes this entire tournament.
That's true. Is that true in every game?
It's either been
crazy.
Every single game has either been a 90th a stoppage time winner or extra time, which is crazy. That they've scraped by every single game to get to this moment. The word control is so interesting that you use that to describe Spain, because to me, control is such an interesting word for what England just gave up on in the semifinal against Argentina. When Spain went ahead 1-0, they continued to attack with the ball, continued to be aggressive, and continued to put France on the back foot. When England went up 1-0 against Argentina with the very, very good Anthony Gordon goal, they completely gave up control.
Yeah.
They basically threw up the white flag, and they tried to do what they did against Mexico, which was say, let's defend heroically for half an hour or so and see if we can hold on. And the difference in quality between Mexico, they barely held on against Mexico. And Argentina are like a class or two above Mexico, certainly. And so they just decided to absorb wave after wave of Argentina attack. They were getting pushed further and further back on the pitch. They had all 11 players behind the ball, and Argentina broke through not once, but twice. And it felt inevitable based on the 100%. Way that England decided to play this game. Like subbing off your attacking players and your midfielders to add in more defenders. Up 1-0 with half an hour left or 20 minutes left. It was shocking management. Very, very negative for Tuchel, and he's getting roundly criticized in the British and international media. But it's such an interesting contrast between Spain, who never let their foot off the even when victory seemed assured, they continued to be aggressive and assertive. And England played as if they felt lucky to get one goal and just decided to try to hold on for dear life. And when you're coming against, I think after the World Cup, we'll do the GOAT conversation again with Messi, but the arguable GOAT, you can't do that. And I think that's a lesson Spain's going to have to learn for this final.
No, I think the enduring moment of that semifinal is Jude Bellingham in the first 5 minutes of the game, going up, trying to trash talk Messi. And Messi does the little nod that everyone sees on social media. That's a nice little look for the camera.
He literally like, okay.
And Messi said, you know, we'll see about that come the end of the game.
Yeah.
Guess who was right? Lionel Messi was right.
Undeniably.
Yeah. You know, England had the opportunity to stretch the game. England had the space to attack into once Argentina got the ball. Like, if you're going to cede control of the game, then what you have to do is nullify their attack and then take opportunities on the break.
Take opportunities.
Which is what Arsenal, like, everyone's comparing this England team to Arsenal. Arsenal can actually defend.
Yeah.
Arsenal defends with 4 players. We don't do a back 5. We don't do a back 6.
Like, the 90th minute, it looks like a back 8.
We defend in structure.
Yeah.
And have high quality players that can make a difference. And Tuchel didn't bring any of those players on. He just brought more and more defenders on. He left the only players with pace that he had on the bench or subbed them off. he took Declan Rice off,
Mhm.
and 2 minutes later, England conceded their first goal.
Mhm.
Coincidence? I think not. But I was astonished genuinely
Yeah.
by the negativity of the entire team, by Harry Kane's just completely absent performance. Honestly, in both of these last 2 games, like against Norway and against Argentina, Harry Kane, once again in big games, completely absent
Yeah.
for England, which I think is significant. Um, I don't know. I just think that England lacked the technical ability to silence
Yeah.
Argentina, and Spain has that.
Right.
But the question is Argentina just inevitable in this tournament? And that's the question that we're going to have to ask on Sunday.
That's the question of the final.
Right.
Because there have been significant moments in every single game where you believed Argentina were going out.
Egypt was 2-0 up against
2-0
Argentina.
up, right?
In the second half.
Yeah. And every single time they found a way. Argentina have scraped by late goals, and it's been lots of different players, right? We've seen Lautaro Martinez score a late goal. We've seen Lisandro Martinez score a late goal. We've seen Julian Alvarez score an absolutely incredible goal,
and Messi,
and Messi, of course, as well. And so there are lots of different people contributing to this Argentina team, and I think no one is doubting that Argentina can win this game. Like no one would come on. We were not going to come on this podcast and be shocked next week if Argentina defend their title.
Not at all.
Not at all. But I do feel like France faded as the tournament went on.
Yes.
And I think every single game, Spain has gotten better and more dominant. And so I guess let's talk about the final. Like, I'm going to pick Spain. I think you're probably going to pick Spain.
I as well. Yeah.
What are the keys for both teams? If I tell you, if we wake up on Monday morning and Spain have won the World Cup, what happened?
I think the key for Spain is that control.
Mm-hmm.
It's really pretty simple. I think that Spain can't do a rear guard action and just defend for half an hour. I don't think that's going to work because this Argentinian team can beat you in different ways. It does have an intensity that I think is unmatched at this World Cup. And I think that matters. Like we've talked about Argentina just scraping by in these games. Like at this point, it takes a lot of gumption. It takes a lot of intensity to drag yourself, in stoppage time to these wins. Like this isn't happening by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Spain, what basically wants to limit the game state from reaching that point. And so I think what I would want to see as De La Fuente, Spain's coach, is a Spanish goal in the first half.
Okay.
If Spain takes a lead into that first half, Argentina has come back multiple times. But I think unlike the teams that Argentina has faced so far, Spain is resilient. And I do think that Spain won't just retreat and let Argentina have those opportunities. Yeah, I think that Rodri, again, just, needs to have a really good game. I would stick with Fabian Ruiz in midfield over Pedri.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there will need to be, when you look at the intensity of, I'm using the word intensity a lot, but I think it really matters because Argentina it will come onto you. It will be physical. In that first half against England, Argentina basically didn't really create much of anything. All they spent their time doing was riling up the English players for an entire half and then kicked into gear in the second half. I think Spain are much more professional than England's roster, but they can't take the bait. And I think that Oyarzabal needs to actually be an efficient force, actually showing up and probably dropping into midfield to create. Like Yamal will need to have the game of his career, I think, for this to be like a guarantee for Spain.
I think it's interesting. I want to talk about Yamal. Up until now, and we saw France do it, where defensively teams are overloading defensively on the Yamal side of the pitch.
Yes.
Because they're not worried about Vina on the other side, which I'm not either.
Right.
But so we even saw France, like most of the time that Yamal had the ball, he was being double teamed immediately.
Or triple
marked. And to me, like if Spain win, and I think something that would really help is if Nico Williams could start.
Yeah.
Because Nico Williams deserves just as much attention as Yamal does. And you mentioned like there will be times in the game when Spain are going to have to absorb pressure.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to absorb that pressure and then outlet it into attack quickly in order to keep Argentina accountable. And you have to do that with pace. And we know Yamal has the pace on one side
Yes,
of
he
the
does.
pitch. But if Nico Williams can play on the other side, if there are dueling speedster threats on both sides of the pitch, that is going to limit what Argentina is able to do in attack. They're not going to be able to be as aggressive. They're not going to be able to go all out because you have these guys who can kill you on both sides of the pitch, who in an instant, in the blink of an eye, can be 20 yards up the pitch, in on goal, scoring. And so Yamal, I think, has to have a great game. I would love if Nico Williams could play on the other side and just provide that balance.
Yeah, I think that I could name every Spain player here, but I do think that one of Dani Olmo or Fabian Ruiz needs to really be making some like driving runs into the box consistently. Because if the two of those guys can be an outlet almost running past Oyarzabal, not to get too technical, but
Sure.
like if you can have an outlet where Oyarzabal kind of sucks in, pulls a player off, and then one of them cuts in front, then all of a sudden you have a lot of verticality because both of them are goal threats. Both of them really do have the technical ability to put goals away. I think that Yamal, was injured for almost 2 months ahead of the World Cup. So he's really still finding his fitness, I think, as well. He's only scored 1 goal so far that I actually got to see in person. This is a moment where Messi can kind of come to the close of his career with a second World Cup and basically be like, I am the ultimate top dog, basically of all time. Like I think his status is basically like completely cemented.
Yeah.
If Yamal can win this World Cup and be like a true, really stake his claim early, like immediately he's accomplished more than Mbappe has on the world stage. Like he won the Euro 2 years ago already, right? So if Yamal reaches this point at age, whatever, 19, whatever he is, with the World Cup and the Euro already, like all of a sudden he starts elevating into some real serious conversations. And the question is like, is he fit enough to actually do that?
And what would the key for Argentina be if they win?
I think for Argentina, I think that you don't want to keep putting yourself in the same situation. I think that the answer is that like Argentina keeps digging themselves in holes because they're letting teams kind of mess around with them early on. And then they're like, we're good enough to still beat you. I think Argentina is not going to want to play that game against Spain because I think they could find that they could get sucker punched pretty easily. Messi's going to play the whole game. Messi's played every 90, every 120. Like he's barely come off at all.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think, but to me, Argentina is going to accept not having the ball for certain parts of the game, like, and just having to suck up waves of pressure. The question to me is, can Argentina ride that out for long enough that they score first? And then all of a sudden Spain has to come out. Because I do think that if Argentina can score first in the second half, if we get to a scoreless first half and then Argentina score, all of a sudden the game opens up. And I think that actually suits Spain a lot less because all of a sudden Spain starts passing it around, trying to break through. They start to kind of lose their defensive shape, trying to break through a very compact Argentinian team. And then all of a sudden Messi can play in space. He can release people. And that to me is a recipe for Spain going down in this game. I think that Argentina doesn't want more of the same in this game if they want to win. I don't know. What do you think?
I think after watching France and Spain play, it's hard for me to imagine or envision Argentina scoring more than 1 goal from open play. So my key for Argentina is be the set piece FC and make the most of the set pieces, whether it's a Messi penalty or a Messi free kick or a Messi corner to Christian Romero I think they're going to have less chances than Spain. I think they're going to have less opportunities. They're going to have less of the ball. But if they can be very efficient with set pieces, that might do it.
Right.
I really think that might make the difference if they can get 1 or even 2 goals off of a penalty, a free kick, a corner, some sort of set piece. That's how usually the less talented but more gritty teams get it done.
Right.
And I think that's what I would expect to have happened if they win.
Right. I just also want to add, I think we need to be careful about labeling Argentina as less talented because I think they are less talented, at least like by a little bit. But every time we actually see them I feel like they just don't feel like they need to put in their maximum effort in parts of these games. And then when they actually like hit their gear, it feels like they're like unstoppable almost. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just a mental thing, but like, I don't know. They do have a serious roster when you look at that team. Like, I think it's just like there's a lot of workman-like players that are maybe not as like big ticket items as a Rodri or a Pedri, you know? But I think the weird thing is like the strength of Spain is that even they don't have that many like big ticket players, right? They have a lot of really good players that play as a team. And the strength of Argentina, I think, is much the same, plus Lionel Messi. And so I think this is ultimately the World Cup final that is deserved for both teams, because unlike a lot of the other teams in this tournament that have come and gone, both these teams are greater than the sum of their parts, like by a long shot.
Yeah.
And interestingly, both of their coaches, we talked about this earlier off air.
Yeah.
Both of their coaches came through the national team system. They're not, big ticket coaches with a big pedigree at the club game.
Well, you were just commenting on the failure of all the celebrity coaches.
Yeah, all the celebrity coaches who are, legit serious coaches. Yeah. They've won all there is to win at the club level. They come, waltzing on an international stage in a very kind of new way compared to what we've seen in the past. And every single one failed for different reasons. And what we've seen is Lionel Scaloni for Argentina and Luis de la Fuente for Spain have, been with these teams for years and years and years, have, coached these players since they were little, and they understand the system and how these players play, and they've both brought their teams to this point. Yeah. And I think that's significant. So I don't know.
Yeah. When we sit down Sunday at 3:00 Eastern and we watch this game, what's going to happen?
I think Spain win the World Cup.
Okay.
I think that's right. And I think that I'm not going to come on here again, like you said, I'm not going to come on here and be utterly shocked if Messi does it again and Argentina does it again. But it's really hard to defend a World Cup. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it's never, ever been done.
Yeah.
And I think it's impressive that Argentina's come back to this point 4 years later with Messi at age 39. But I think that Spain has too many weapons to just be pushed around.
Yeah. I feel the same. Yeah, I think I feel the same. I think Spain's going to win. I think that there will be goals.
Yes.
3-1, 3-2.
Interesting.
Yeah, I ultimately, I think that Argentina have flirted with fate this entire knockout round.
Yeah.
And like, I just don't believe that magic can go on indefinitely. If it does, it is literally one of the most magical runs to a World Cup I've ever seen, just in terms of like the pure chaos and like how everything seems to go their way at the end. But like, they have been like flirting with fate every game.
They have.
And I don't think that that's a successful blueprint to win a World Cup.
Right.
I could be wrong. Maybe they will, or maybe they'll go out and they'll dominate this game and they'll kind of change the narrative. But they've been opportunistic. They've gotten a little bit lucky. They've had a couple decisions go their way with the referees. And to me, that's like when I look back on like historic World Cup winners, there are teams that projected confidence,
right,
and showed their talent and their resilience and their power the whole way through. And that's not how I've been describing Argentina this tournament.
I feel like this is going to get me a lot of hate, and I hope we don't clip this. But if we do, I think Argentina has kind of fraudulently made their way through this knockout round in particular. Argentina has not played a serious team until they played England. Like, objectively. They played Cape Verde, who stole all of our hearts. Not a serious contender. They played Egypt. Absolutely not a serious contender. They played Switzerland. A good team, not a serious contender. And, there were weird extenuating circumstances, and they could barely score against Switzerland.
Yeah.
And they played England, who are England,
What does that mean?
It means that we all know that it's never coming home.
Yeah. That's
Spain have beaten France, they've beaten Portugal, they've beaten Belgium on their way to this tournament, on the way to the final. Yeah. Spain have played a serious team every single game of this knockout round, and they have swatted them all aside. And I think that that matters. And who knows? Argentina could waltz to the final and then win, and that's all that matters. But I think that Spain has shown that they have the grit and resilience to win this World Cup, and I'm calling it 2-1 Spain.
Mikel Merino late winner. Are you calling
that
it
would
again?
be? I think Spain is going to score 2, just like they did against France. And I think Argentina pulls one back late and almost pulls the comeback off, and then draws
falls just short. Okay, cool. Like I said, yeah, I'm glad we were able to get a podcast out. We wanted to actually be able to preview what the actual final is going to be like. Do you want to let them know what we're doing tonight?
We're watching the Odyssey, so maybe World Cup review plus Odyssey review. I think we have to do both.
We haven't done a movie on the podcast in a long time, and it's not because we've stopped caring about movies. It's just because the sports have been so much.
And honestly, the movies have been mediocre, in my opinion.
They've been, I mean,
they're fine.
Definitely not as good as it has been.
Not crunching tackles event movies, we'll just say. Yeah.
But the Odyssey is in many ways one of the most crunching tackles event movies that it has ever been.
I mean, top 3, unquestionably.
Yeah.
It's like Oppenheimer, Dune Part 2.
Dune 2, now the Odyssey.
And then we'll get Dune Part 3, and then we'll be back.
So we're on fire on the film side.
Much like Mikel Arteta.
But that's going to be a fun night. And then Sunday at 3, we will watch it all go down. We hope that you all are tuned in at 3 o'clock as well. And then sometime next week, we will have a recap show, and we'll talk about just everything that has happened. It's just been a whirlwind of a month. And it's kind of sad that it's coming to an end. It's been fun.
It's been an incredible tournament.
You excited for 64 teams next year?
No.
Or next 4 years from now?
No, I'm not. It's too many. There's been 48 teams. I did appreciate the expansion ultimately, but 64 is it's a lot of games.
That's a lot of teams.
I don't think I'll be able to watch all the games, which is just tough. It's too many.
Yeah. One thing I've been saying is like, I had to watch all the games because I know that in 2 years from now I'm going to really miss the World Cup, and I really feel like I've made the absolute most of this.
Yes.
And I'm still sad that it's ending.
The Premier League's coming back though, and we're excited to get back into it. So
cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the show today. A little bit shorter this time, just a quick little primer on the final, and we'll be back later with another podcast. And until then, we hope that you all continue to be well and be safe, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Cheers, guys.